Hi there. So, figured a good rant to start off with was one relating to Irish in schools. Um, if you ask a secondary school student what their least favorite subject is, chances are they're going to say Irish. Um, and there's a we have a tendency as a nation to say, at least when we're in school, that, I hate Irish. I've said it. I've tried to stop saying it because I don't actually like saying it. I've realised that it's a very loaded statement, and it seems like it isn't, but it is a very loaded statement. It's kind of spitting in the faces of the people who died so that we could speak it. Like people died for an independent Irish Republic in 1916. That was the point of it, That was the point of the Rising. It was the point of all the previous rebellions. It was the point of the War of Independence and the Civil War, and we all know that. But part of the point was us having the ability to speak Irish. That was part of the reason people wanted independence. And yeah, it wasn't outlawed always, but I mean, people they wanted Irish to be our language, and the fact that constitutionally Irish is our native tongue, it is our native tongue, but it's our first language. And yet people can't speak it, and people hate it in schools. And why do people say, I hate Irish? Because consistently, if you ask someone who says, I hate Irish, if you ask them, why do you hate the Irish language? They will tell you, no, I don't hate the Irish language, I hate Irish as a subject. And that makes sense because it's a stupid subject. I'm sorry. But as someone who's sitting the Leaving Cert in June, I can honestly tell you it's a stupid subject. It's not a stupid language. And it's not that it's taught badly. It's the curriculum is horrific. It's like in primary school, I really do feel that as a 6th class student, I was better at spoken Irish than I am as a 6th year student. Because from first year on, the emphasis is placed on the exam. Irish is taught with the view to sit an exam at the end of it. It's not taught with the view to teach students how to speak their language. It's not even secondary. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant if 10 years from now you can carry a conversation in Irish. It's irrelevant if you go abroad and someone finds out you're Irish and asks you to say something in Irish. It's irrelevant if you can say anything other than "An catacomb dulcity on letters." No one needs to pee that much, and no one actually needs that sentence after 6th year. No one does, But it's the only one for some reason, I suppose, because we all leave to go to the bathroom in Irish so much. But it's the only sentence, it's the only question anyone remembers. And that's depressing. Like people sing the national anthem with pride because we know what it stands for and what it symbolizes, but we can't translate it. We can't, look you in the eye and tell you, right, I know, where are the soldiers marching, or it ends with they'll sing a soldier song. I know that, but I mean, that's all we know, or you'll sing a soldier song. I don't know. But like that, you see, like, I mean, we can't speak Irish, and like if you ask someone who's 18 or 28 or 80, can you speak Irish? Chances are they're going to say no, but I really wish I could. I know so many people who just say, I wish I could speak Irish. But they can't. And the reason they can't is because the government expects us to be able to do fantastically well in Irish exams, but it doesn't actually care if we can speak Irish. It doesn't actually care if we understand what we're writing. That's irrelevant, because it's like they think that, right, we have the curriculum, we have, an exam set out, that's what matters. We're honouring the patriot dead. We're honouring all the people who died for the language. Now we can just ignore it. We can give monster teenagers a tape in Ulster dialect and not care that they're going to do terribly because they don't speak Ulster Irish. And it doesn't matter, because what does it matter? Like, Irish is a lucky dip. If you're brought up speaking Ulster Irish, you're not going to understand Ulster Irish. You're just not, because it's not the same language. I mean, technically, yeah, I suppose the basics are the same, but I mean, like, if you were never taught Latin, you'd probably be able to understand something. If they give you every word in Latin in front of you, you'd probably be able to understand a word or two, like. But I mean, you're not going to actually be able to read Latin, just because you've learned English your whole life. It's the same in reading comprehensions, in lay Leibhicans. You're literally told that the method of doing them is, right, if it's in Alta Hain, you look at the question, you pick kind of the key words out of it, and you look for them in that paragraph. And then when you find that, you just write the sentence until it seems like you should stop writing the sentence. Like, a full stop mightn't necessarily be the end of it. Maybe stick in the next sentence every so often as well, unless it says, do with rudder on. But I mean, like, generally, you're just told to kind of do that and hope for the best. Like, that's pointless. There's no point to that. There's no rhyme or reason to that. There's no point in writing something and learning how to write something if you don't understand what you're writing. Like, and it's so upsetting and it's so frustrating because students break their backs to do well in Irish because they need to pass it. Because it's a compulsory subject and it should be a compulsory subject. Because if any subject should be compulsory, it's the country's first national language. It's the nation's first language. Like, that should be a compulsory subject. Like, that's logical. But I mean, what is illogical is the fact that the Department of Education and the government don't think we should actually be able to speak it. Like, why? I mean, why do they find... I know that I'm going around in circles, but why do they find it so hard to come up with a curriculum that will actually teach people how to speak Irish? I mean, why is that so difficult for people to do? I mean, just do an entire focus on speaking Irish. Don't even have a written exam. Have the oral count for everything and have it a half an hour oral instead of 15-minute one. And, have a written option for someone that, for some reason or the other, isn't able to do the oral, Fair enough. Like, that's fair. That's good, like, that makes sense. But I mean, what doesn't make sense is that you go into the oral with stuff you learned, and you're physically unable to respond when they ask you something about the thing you've learned. Like, if you're talking about music and you have this big long spiel about a concert you've been to, and they ask you, well, what was the last concert you were at, and you don't have that prepared, you struggle and you lose your marks because you struggle. And it's not that maybe they're trying to catch you out, yeah, but it's not necessarily that they want you to do bad. It's that they want to see if you can actually speak Irish. And that's fair. That's a good method of examining when you think about it. But the fact that we then can speak it, like, that's ridiculous. That's insane. That we spend 14 years of our lives learning grammar and sentence structure. But the thing is, we don't even learn those. We learn grammar, yeah, but we don't learn connective words. We don't learn how to say of or at or to or when. We learn, okay, when, yeah, but I mean, we don't learn connective words. You kind of have to figure that out as you go along for yourself. And it's because even in primary school, it's exam oriented. It's like, right, this is the grammar, and you just do it for half the year every year, over and over and over again. And then you leave, and you're not any better at the grammar than you were at the start of the year. I just don't understand why they've they've done so much harm to the Irish language because it doesn't deserve that. You know, it's struggled with the people. It's survived with the people. It's grown and it's changed, yeah, but even when it was outlawed, it survived. It was taught secretly. It was protected by the people. It was kept safe. And now when we have the freedom to actually teach people to speak Irish, we have the ability to make Irish as commonly spoken and as fluently spoken as English, we don't do it. We don't do anything with that opportunity. We just crush the language. We take it away from the people even more. We make it something elite and unclean in a way, because you have to study it at third level to be able to understand it. You know, you have to pay to learn the language, because the people generally can't teach their kids Irish because the government hasn't, through education, given them the opportunity to learn it. You know? So the only way you're going to learn Irish is if you go to college and study it. And most people can't do that because, one thing, we don't need 4 million Irish teachers. And there aren't that many jobs aside from an Irish teacher in the Irish language. I mean, they're there and they need to be filled. But if every student in the country suddenly decided they want an Irish degree, we don't need that. So, but that's the way you learn it, you know? And it's just, it's unfair. It's unfair that after everything we've been through to preserve the language and to have a language and to be able to learn it, that after everything we don't allow ourselves to. We don't allow ourselves to speak Irish. We don't allow ourselves to embrace it. And a lot of that is because the government doesn't let us. And it's not like it's some big conspiracy, but it's like, it's so sad that we as Irish people feel, in general, that we don't actually even have a right to it in a way, because we didn't grow up in a Gaeltacht. You know, if we didn't grow up in a Gaeltacht, there's a sense that if you're not from one of those areas, you don't have a right to it. But we do have a right to it. It's our language, like it's everyone's language, and it's so upsetting that we just haven't realized that. And I think that 2016 would have been the perfect year to change that. But we haven't, and we're not going to. And there's no like big reveal. There's no surprise. This is the new Leaving Cert Irish course, where there's a focus on speaking Irish, on understanding it, on learning to love your own language. And it's just really annoying that we've wasted 2016, because it could have been great. It could have been a celebration of the language and of the culture and of the history and of the heritage and of everything we've worked so hard for. And it hasn't been, and it's not going to be. And I suppose that's for another video. But basically what I'm saying is that as someone who is going into an Irish oral in 2-3 weeks, I really just wish that meant that I could actually speak the language. That at lunchtime, like, my friends and I could sit at the canteen and speak in Irish and in English. But it doesn't mean that. And it doesn't look like it's going to mean that for a very long time. And that's frustrating. Clearly. So this has been a very long rant, and I mean, your cup just fell off, which is kind of fitting. So bye for now, I guess. Hope you enjoyed. Comment if anyone actually watched this. I hope someone did, because otherwise I'm talking to myself. So, slán.